viewers, and welcome back to another video. I'm in Boston right now, and behind me is the Boston City Hall, which is a textbook example of the architecture style known as Brutalism.
As you can see, there is no doubt that this building has a very solid constitution. It's practically a fortress of concrete and brick. It is also unexpected that a city like Boston, with nearly 4 centuries of history, vibrant street scenes, and an array of architectural styles to choose from, chose brutalist architecture for its city hall. Let's be honest, the building is quite stark, and many would even say that it's quite ugly. And yet, the brutalist movement is not just present in the Boston-Cambridge area, but all over the world. So what's the story behind such a peculiar, controversial style of architecture? Let's find out. We can trace back the story of the brutalist style to the year 1950 in the Swedish city of Uppsala. In that year, these two architects finished the Villa Goth, a house that may seem like any other duplex today, but at the time had a juxtaposition of coarse red brick with the glass window panes, which was quite revolutionary in the world of architects. Another Swedish architect, Hans Asplund, used the term neo-brutalism to describe the villa, and ever since then, that term became synonymous with this house. British architects who visited Sweden that summer quickly adopted that term, and in 1953, the phrase New Brutalism was first published in a magazine article by Alison and Peter Smithson, an architect couple who were based in London. It was in 1955 when another Brit, Rainer Banham, further popularized the concept in his essay The New Brutalism, where he associates the architecture approach with béton brut, which means raw concrete in French. For much of architectural history preceding the mid-20th century, important buildings in Europe, such as churches, government buildings, and wealthy households, were designed to be ornate masterpieces. They were typically bedecked with intricate facades, in essence a bash display of either power or material possession. However, after Europe faced the wrath of the Second World War, parts of the continent, such as the United Kingdom, became economically depressed. With this, inexpensive construction projects for housing, government offices, and schools became the necessity, and in lieu of the over-detailed, costly designs from before, architects favored the low-cost, monochromatic facades of brick and concrete. Eventually, even as Europe recovered from the aftermath of the war, architects on larger budgets continued to use brutalist style for several different reasons. For one, it was a novel idea, an innovative approach at building that attracted experimental mindsets. Brutalism also had sculptural qualities that appealed to the hands-on artist within the renowned architects at that time. However, the most defining aspect of brutalism is its straightforwardness. You see, brutalist buildings don't make any effort to cover the concrete slabs and bricks with fancy decorations. The beauty of brutalism, according to architects, is that it does not hide anything from its beholder, having structures kept in their rawest form. With no gilded ornaments or detailed mosaics, this allows the people who use the building to directly experience the building for what it is intrinsically. While that may seem ugly to some people, that's exactly the point. In the best way to put it, brutalism is a brutally honest approach, which shows only what's needed to be shown without all that fancy sugarcoating. One last striking characteristic about this style is that it tries to show the functions of the structure with its exterior design. For instance, you can see that in Boston City Hall, the base of the building is made out of red brick. This is the part of the building where the departments of city government are located, and the common people, the common Bostonians, are allowed. The middle segment of this building has odd rectangular rooms and slabs projecting outwards, and this is where the publicly elected officials such as the mayor and the city council members have their offices. The assortment of rooms here are the different offices and meeting areas for the said officials, which I guess symbolizes the different layers of bureaucracy in municipal government. The very top floors are reserved for the administrative and planning departments, where the public are mostly off limit, and the exterior takes the look of a conventional office building. This approach is responsible for the blocky angles and protruding floor plans that are signature to the brutalist movement. And in an oddly fascinating way, the raw concrete of brutalism symbolizes transparency. The first pioneers of the Brutalist movement included veteran architect Le Corbusier, whose projects included the United de Habitation, the Chandigarh Secretariat Building, and Notre Dame du Haut. Meanwhile, the Smithsons, who I mentioned earlier, finished the Smith-Dunn High School in Norfolk, United Kingdom in 1954. The Brutalist movement spread not just all over Western Europe, but to other parts of the continent, and soon enough to the Americas, Oceania, and different parts of Asia. However, it was in North America, the United Kingdom, and Australia where the style really flourished. As I mentioned before, Brutalism was really popular for government buildings, such as the High Court in Canberra, the J. Edgar Hoover building in Washington DC, and a host of different municipal buildings. The style was more popular for residential units and commercial buildings in the United Kingdom, and metro stations, art centers, and some privately owned buildings also used the style throughout the 1960s and 70s. Perhaps the most prominent usage of the Brutalist style was in institutional facilities such as high schools and universities. Examples include Geyser Library in UC San Diego, Yale's Art and Architecture Building, the University of Toronto's Robarts Library, and literally dozens more around the globe. As one would expect, the Brutalist style had and still has many critics. One of the most significant critics was Prince Charles of Wales, who called many Brutalist structures piles of concrete. Many say that the heavy materials used in Brutalism gave the style a cold, unappealing appearance, and British author Anthony Daniels claimed that Brutalist structures portray a sense of totalitarianism, calling them hideous, cold-hearted, and inhumane. It didn't help that in northwestern Europe, where the trend first started, there is a damp maritime climate, which caused water stains on exposed concrete. This, along with the lack of maintenance and graffiti from vandals, made the style synonymous with urban decay, and by the 1980s, Brutalism fell out of style, with structural expressionism and postmodernism taking over. Several structures have since been demolished, and after its peak, Brutalism never again reached the glory it once had in the mid-20th century. Even though the Brutalist approach lost popularity by the mid-1980s, the style never really completely died out, with isolated construction projects thereafter. These include the Canadian Embassy in Washington DC, the Estonian National Library, and Teatro Argentino de la Plata. The style regained some popularity in the mid-2010s when a series of new publications brought about a renewed interest in the architect community. Several buildings have received historical honors and have since been subject to historical preservation. Some buildings have been renovated and refurbished in lieu of being demolished. The Brutalist style has also been very popular in dystopian-themed movies, such as A Clockwork Orange and more recently, Blade Runner 2049. However, I think that the biggest takeaway from Brutalism is the message it's trying to portray. In a single word, Brutalist architecture can be described as being intrinsic. As I mentioned before, I like to think of it as a brutally honest type of architecture. With this, can we stand to reason that Brutalism is simply a metaphor, a reminder that we are all flawed and rough on the inside? Is it to highlight the hard truths of life, that existence is inevitably ugly, but we should still face it? Or does it have more of a positive connotation, that whatever is on the outside, we all have a strong interior core, that it's okay to be human and make mistakes? As with any type of art, it's up to the interpreter to decide how they feel about Brutalist architecture. But one thing is for sure, making this video really changed my perspective. In the past, I generally disliked Brutalist architecture. I did not understand why it existed. But now that I read up on it and understood the story, I have a new appreciation for it. I feel that this can apply to many different aspects of life. So my humble request to you guys is for you guys to read up on something new, especially something that may seem unappealing at first. Try looking at a topic or an issue from a perspective you usually do not explore. Make yourself uncomfortable sometimes, don't be shy. Because you'll never really know how your mindset will change afterwards. For this video, I want to try something a little different. If you made it this far into the video, comment down your opinion on Brutalist architecture and share this video to anyone who may be interested, but specifically to 2 people. I wanted to share this to one person who is more math-minded and analytical, and one person who is more of an artist. Tell them to watch this entire video, comment down their opinion on this style of architecture, and share this video to 2 people themselves. I'm really curious as to what you guys think about this architectural approach and its intended message. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more content. If you have any questions or feedback, please make sure to either contact me through this email right here or my Instagram account. And take care.
So until next time, this video is something to think about.